Hello students, myself Dr. Chayabia, Associate Professor, Department of ECE, Sai Vidya Institute of Technology. So in this video we will be looking into the following topics. We'll see what is loop control, DDC techniques, and what do you mean by an adaptive control. Loop control or direct digital control is also called as direct digital control or DDC. So why it is called as loop control? Because we can see that the digital computer is connected in the feedback loop. So we have so many feedback loops connected to the digital computer. Every feedback is doing one processing. So this digital computer is acting like a critical component, because in the event of failure or any malfunctioning of this computer, the entire plant will be disrupted. So we should always ensure that the safety measures have to be taken to protect this digital computer. So this can be reduced by making some changes to the actuators. So for every input that is sent to the process or a plant, there is an actuator placed which is used to control the mechanism of the plant. Advantages of DDC over analog control. So we have three advantages. First is cost, performance and safety. We know that in the previous diagram we saw that one digital computer is taking care of so many feedback loops in order to control the plant. So in that way we can see that it is cheaper than analog unit. Next, performance means that it will ensure accuracy and reliability by implementing wide range of algorithms. So in that way it is ensuring high performance. And since we are using modern digital hardwares and hence meantime failures will also be reduced, which improves the safety of the plant. These are the various advantages of direct digital control over analog control. Direct digital control applications. So one application we are trying to discuss here, that is simple steam boiler control scheme. So here we are talking about this steam boiler. So DDC may also be applied to a single loop system implemented by small microprocessor. So here the output of one loop is acting as a set point to this another loop. So a working of a simple steam boiler is shown, which also explains how multiple or single loops in DDC are taken care. The steam pressure is monitored by using two types of controllers. One is pressure controller PC and pressure transducer PT. And later this steam pressure is regulated by a supply of fuel oil to the burner. In order to control the combustion or to comply with the pollution regulation, proper fuel and oil is required. So the steam pressure control system generates an actuating signal. It generates an actuating signal and it is fed to this bias station. So here we can see it is auto or manual, which means that if it is automatic, if it is auto, the actuation signal is transmitted automatically. If it is switched to manual mode, it means that the actuating signal is transmitted manually. So the signal that is passing from this bias station has two units. First one is HI, that is high signal selector, low signal selector. This high signal selector, again you can notice there are two input signals for this, and low signal selector is also having two signals. So the low signal provides a set point. So one signal is from set point for DDC to control oil flow. So this is to control oil flow or to regulate this oil flow controller. Again this high selector is provides the set point for DDC to control airflow controller. So this example shows how multiple or single loops in a DDC are taken care. For a simple example like steam boiler control scheme. DDC techniques. There are three configurations to discuss. First is inferential control configuration, feed forward control configuration and adaptive control configuration. Feedback control configuration, we can see that there are controllers, process and this can be a plant. So this is controlled by a controller or this can be a computer which is set by a set point. So manipulated variables are being sent to the plant or a process. So where disturbances can also be an input. from the process after computation we can get two types of outputs. Some are measured outputs and some can be unmeasured outputs. Inferential control configuration. In the inferential control configuration, the set point is set to the controller based upon the input and the desired output to be obtained. The inferential control configuration is applied to the control that are in feedback loop is to be based on outputs that cannot be measured directly, but it is inferred on some other values. So some of the outputs can be measured and given directly to the feedback control, but some outputs, other outputs are required by the feedback controller cannot be measured directly. So such outputs are sent to an estimator. So estimator is a piece of algorithm that estimates the unmeasured outputs and it is being sent to the controller. So as mentioned, we will have two types of outputs. One is measured and unmeasured outputs. Here we are trying to treat the unmeasured outputs by sending it to an estimator. This estimator estimates the unmeasured outputs and it is sent to the controller in order to treat the unmeasured outputs. The frequently used inferential control configuration in distillation column. So distillation process is basically means that separation of components or substances from a liquid mixture by using boiling and condensation techniques. First we need to give heating to the liquid mixture, that is by reboiler, and it gets heated up and forms vapor. These vapors are travels to the top of the distillation column and it gets condensed. A part of the liquid, condensed liquid, that is vapor, some is sent back to the distillation column as a reflex and some is taken out as removed out as a overhead. The condensed liquid will help in separation of liquid mixture. I repeat, the condensed liquid what we get is helping in separation of the condensed liquid. First we are providing vaporization and the same vapor is being condensed. This vapor is called as condensed liquid, that is helping in separation of mixtures so that the purity of mixture is good. This is one of the example of inferential control configuration. Feed forward control configuration. So here we can see it is basically used in the process industries, and this configuration mainly measures the disturbances rather measuring the unmeasured outputs. So the control configuration is used to speed up the response of the systems. So this is mainly used to treat the disturbances, and these disturbances are predicted accurately in case of feed forward control configurations. Rolling of sheet steel. If you take hot rolling of a sheet steel, as you can see here, this is an example. If the temperature of the billet is known, as it approaches the first stage mill, the initial setup of roll gap can be calculated accurately. So the initial this estimates of the reduction of each stage of a mill can be made. If this is done, the time taken to get the gauge of the steel within tolerance can be reduced. So this is an example of the feed forward configuration. So hence with this example we can ensure that the quality of the quantity of the scrap steel is reduced by ending up less quantity of scrap steel. So you are able to get a good quality steel by estimating the roll gap, okay, that is being calculated accurately at the initial stage itself. Adaptive control configurations. There are three types of adaptive control configuration. First is pre-programmed adaptive configuration, self-tuning adaptive configuration, and model reference adaptive configuration. Pre-programmed adaptive control configuration. Basically, adaptive control is a method used by a controller which must be adapt to a control system with parameters which vary. Or I can explain that adaptive control covers a set of techniques that provides systematic approach for automatic adjustments of control parameters in the real time. Why we need to go for adaptive? In order to achieve desired level of the performance of the plant. So in case of adaptive control system, parameters of the plant change in time or it will be unknown. Okay, so in the pre-programmed adaptive control configuration, it is one of the most important control configurations in an adaptive control mechanisms. The first one what we have to discuss is auxiliary process measurements. So the pre-programming adaptive control adjusts the controller parameters based upon the measurements of an auxiliary variables that affect the controlling loop gain in a predictable manner. This adjustment mechanism or gain schedule what is present here will give you the rough control parameters, and adaptive control does tuning of this controlling parameters. So if the process exhibits predictable variations, then adaptation of controller parameters can be programmed or scheduled. The variation in the processes are identified by measuring the auxiliary variables. These auxiliary variables must be selected in such a way that it correlates well with the process control dynamic changes. Hence, the appropriate values of the controller parameters are mapped to the values of the auxiliary process variables. So basically there are we can see there are two loops. One is the normal feedback control loop, here we can see, and the second loop is for the parameter adjustment. Okay, this parameter adjustment, the feedback using values of gain programmed into the adjustment mechanisms. So this is about auxiliary process measurements. External environment measurements. So it is same as what we understood in the previous diagram here, but then here we are treating with the disturbances also. So along with the actual adjustments or auxiliary adjustments what we are doing, we are also treating for disturbances in case of external environmental measurements. Self-tuning adaptive control. So a self-tuning controller involves a traditional PID controller. So basically it is a proportional integral and derivative controller as well as a self-tuning function. It will also have a self-tuning function that tries to maintain optimal closed loop performance by continuously updating PID tuning parameters to the process. So in self-tuning, the tuning of the controller functions operate simultaneously. So we have a controller here which must contain to maintain the process variables continuously at the specific level, and it tries to learn how process variable reacts to the control effects. So the self-tuning is used to achieve continuous determination of parameters of process that is being controlled. The changes in the process parameters, any changes in this process parameters are used to adjust the controller. Basically, in this self-tuning adaptive control, one procedure is being done, that is, it periodically the controller injects a small disturbance to the process. Okay, it injects small disturbance to the process and measures the response first. And the response is being compared to some desired response, and controller parameters are adjusted. These controller parameters are adjusted to bring the response closer to the desired response. That is self-tuning adaptive control. This is a simple model reference adaptive control, a simple strategy or configuration. So it basically relies on ability to construct an accurate model. It includes both self-tuning as well as pre-programmed. So it is also called as an accurate model for the process which measures the unmeasured output. Also it is a model which is used to treat the disturbances that affect the system. Thank you.